when I was a kid, the TV was like, it was the place. It was the thing. It was like the entire house was sort of feng shuied around the whole idea there was a television in it. The whole house had to point towards the television. This kind of, it was like a big bloated Laminex box, like ungodly fat, like a fat man on these tiny skinny legs. It always looked like one of those alcoholics just all wandering home from the pub with the tiny legs and the big gut, but just sitting up there in its Laminex glory in the middle of the room, and all the chairs would be pointed in the direction of the lounge room. In fact, we even had our dining room was seated just so that you could eat and watch TV, because that pointed in there as well. And if you were really stuck, just say you're watching the news and there was a really good thing on and you had to do a poo, you could just put the toilet door open and you could sort of poo and watch the news at the same time. So it was all about viewing. It was all about waiting for time. And it was not that it was like a lot to watch. You had I lived in, country Queensland. You had two stations. You had the ABC, which was Channel 2, and Channel 10, which was like the kind of DD-TV, Darling Dance TV. It went to like 11:30 at night. I think the ABC clocked off at like 10 o'clock or something, even earlier than that. And it was kind of like, they were the two major stations. And so every week you were aware of what was on. It was like a whole thing of like, you would read the guide, you would get the guide out and you would circle things and make little asterisks. And then you would plan your week around when your show was on. And you'd go, we can't go out that night, because that's the night the $6 Million Man's on, and I'm waiting, to see if he gets it on with, the $6 Million Woman. It wasn't much of a script. But, these were big excitements. You were so excited because you couldn't say, well, I'm going to watch it now. You couldn't just go, well, I'm going to sit down and do it. It doesn't matter. I will, just tape it and watch it. There was no way to tape it. It was, if you missed it, you had to sort of ask someone what happened and listen to their description of it, or wait for a couple of years till you weren't interested anymore and they were rerunning it, in the middle of the day or in that last show before the 11:30 p.m. station shut down. And so it was kind of, it was exciting. It was like every night. And it wasn't like you could watch too much. Although my mum would always say, she'd always go, it'll rot your brain, which is kind of weird because it only rotted my brain when I watched stuff I wanted to watch, but not when she was watching stuff that, or I watched stuff she liked to watch, like Are You Being Served or Antiques Roadshow. And I actually think now an Antique Roadshow, actually could rot your brain. But that's the whole thing of excitement. I used to love that time of actually sitting with my family and watching a show, together, even if it was the news or the goodies, or we'd watch, one of those programs, Countdown, something together. And it was like this lovely place where you just sat there. You didn't have to talk to each other. It was connection through watching and sharing in physical proximity to each other. You'd scream because the couches were small and uncomfortable, and people would fart and go, stop, shut up, stop chewing too loud. But it was all like this was really exciting. But it doesn't really happen anymore. I don't know when it kind of stopped, and I feel a bit sad about it. It's this whole kind of thing about now, which is on one hand, it's really quite good. This whole thing about you watch what you want, when you want to watch it, whenever you want to watch it, how many times you want to watch it, when you want to watch it. It's all about you and your programmer. You are the programmer. You've become the programmer of your own shows. You no longer have to wait for shows. There's no need to wait. The show can be on now in your bedroom, just with you watching on your own, like a loser. So now that's all my kids do. They just sit in their rooms watching shows. And they won't watch shows with me. I can't even find a show. I haven't watched the actual television for such a long time because there's nothing on it that I think I want to watch, because there's so much, there's so many stations. I can't even think of one that I'd want to watch. And I have to find something that my kids would want to watch with me. And I think since I've been here for 18 months, I built this big house. I've got a giant lounge, the lounge chair here. It's huge. It takes 12 people. And generally no one sits, like a big iceberg in the middle of the room with no one sitting, because no one will come and watch the television with me. They're sitting in their rooms watching, like Game of Thrones, which is a bit sad. Because I love watching Game of Thrones, but they don't want to watch it. They want to watch it on their own. It's self-viewing. Me, watch my thing on my own. Or, Real Housewives of Melbourne or Mullumbimby, watching on your own, 25 series at once, all down. And there was no time together. It's a bit sad. So I think in times to come, the television, look how it's become massive. It doesn't matter how big it gets anymore. No one's looking at it. No one cares. No one cares what's on the television anymore. They'll just go. It's like a gravestone in the middle of the house. This room used to be the centre of the house. No more. It's just me in here now on my own, watching the cartoons, hoping Someone might watch it with me. So lonely.